Bill is a 73-year-old farmer, his whole life devoted to the fields and simple life in the village. After retiring, he believes that he just needs to keep his old habits, eat like before, live like before, slow down a bit, and rest more. Everything seems to be fine, until he began to notice small changes that were difficult to describe in words. His body is no longer agile, his memory is sometimes skewed, and things that were once very familiar now take him more time and effort. He did nothing wrong, but it seemed like something inside him was gradually changing. In fact, there are seemingly harmless habits that silently speed up the aging process. They do not make loud noises, do not cause anyone to panic, but quietly affect the health, clarity, and autonomy of the elderly. Many people maintain old behaviors just because they are familiar, without knowing that that familiarity is gradually draining the vitality from within them. In today's story, we will follow Bill's journey as he discovers 6 common habits that many people unconsciously keep after the age of 70. Habits that seem small, but when given up, can open up a more active, more confident, and more vibrant life in old age. At first, Bill didn't think he needed to change anything. He still works on time, eats regularly, and spends quiet time alone. For him, it is a safe and comfortable lifestyle. No one said there was anything wrong. No one raised the alarm. And Bill, like many people at this age, entered the later stages of life with the mindset of keeping what was familiar. However, familiarity is sometimes a sweet trap. It makes people not notice that things that worked in the past are no longer suitable for a body that is changing every day. Not all habits need to be given up, but there are habits that, if not changed, will gradually take away your health, joy of life, and sense of control. Changing is not to become someone else, nor is it to race against time. It's just a gentle way to take care of yourself. It is proactive in choosing quality of life. It's the first step to opening a new chapter that's lighter and worth living. It was when he realized that Bill began the journey of adjusting what seemed like a very small thing. And from those simple changes, he regained what he thought he had lost: vitality and peace in old age. Habit 1. Avoid strength-enhancing activities. After retiring, Bill no longer had to get up early to go to the fields, nor did he need to carry loads, climb on barn roofs, or draw water like before. The work that once made his muscles firm has now given way to leisurely mornings and quiet afternoons on an old wooden chair on the porch. He thought he was giving his body a rest after many years of hardship, but gradually he began to notice his legs getting weaker. Getting up from the chair became more difficult than before. One time, just a slight slip in the yard made him lose his balance. Not because he was suddenly old, but because his body was no longer able to move like before. His muscles were no longer activated every day like when he was a farmer. People often think that after the age of 70, exercising too much is dangerous and can easily cause falls or injuries. But for Bill, it is the lack of movement that causes him to lose initiative in every small movement. He realized that muscles are not only strength, but also the foundation for independence, for the ability to live independently. One day, after being encouraged by his son, Bill started trying simple exercises at home. He practiced standing up and sitting down from a wooden chair without using the armrests. He uses soup cans to practice light lifting, balancing at the sink for a few seconds every day. After just a few weeks, he clearly felt the difference. Legs are stronger, back is straighter, and confidence is back. The important thing is not how hard he exercises, but that he proactively moves every day, regularly and moderately. Those movements not only helped his body get stronger, but also helped him feel like he was still living a life with control, initiative, and dignity. For Bill, being able to stand up without anyone's help, go to the market without having to hold on to a cart, or simply bend down to pick up a falling eggplant and know for sure that he can stand up, are all more valuable than any medicine. and he knows that maintaining muscle is one of the most valuable gifts he can give himself at this age. Habit 2. Eat and drink like when you were young. Bill has always been a simple, less picky eater. When he was a farmer, he was used to 3 hearty meals a day, lots of meat, lots of rice, plus a cup of sweet bean soup after dinner and a cup of strong black coffee in the early morning. For decades, those dishes not only fed him, but were also a familiar part of his daily life. After retiring, Bill still kept that habit because he thought he only needed to eat like before, and that would be enough. But then he began to feel that his body no longer responded like it used to. Every time he finished eating, he felt bloated and had indigestion. In the afternoon, he is often sleepy and tired. His clothes began to get tighter, and he didn't understand why, even though the rations remained the same. It wasn't until he went for a regular health checkup and was asked carefully about his diet by the doctor that he realized that his body needed a different way of nourishment. At the age of over 70, the digestive system slows down. Metabolism also changes, and what was good in the past may not be suitable now. Bill doesn't need to eat less, he just needs to eat differently. He started reducing the portion of white rice at each meal, instead adding boiled vegetables, grilled fish, tofu, and fresh fruit. Sweet treats become a small treat on weekends instead of every day. He switched to drinking light tea in the morning instead of strong coffee and started listening to his body more closely. Within just a month, Bill felt lighter. His sleep is deeper, his mind is more stable, and he no longer feels heavy after meals. He did not follow any strict diet, simply adjusting to the new stage of life. Just like no one reuses the same shoes from their 30s to wear in their 70s, eating habits also need to be changed to suit a changing body. For Bill, changing the way he eats does not take away the joy of meals, but on the contrary, helps him regain the feeling of health and clarity that has faded over time. Habit 3. Withdrawing from social life. After his wife died, Bill became quieter. The gatherings with friends that he once enjoyed no longer appeal. He began to refuse calls for morning coffee, no longer joined the group of former farmers in town, and often told himself that he just wanted to be quiet for a while. That time lasted longer than he thought. The days passed quietly. He spent many hours just sitting by the window, listening to the wind in the yard without knowing what he was waiting for. He still calls it peace, but deep inside is an unnamed void, becoming clearer and clearer day by day. Bill is not the only person who falls into that state after the age of 70. When the social circle shrinks, when loved ones pass away or get busy with their own lives, many people begin to withdraw from the outside world. They think they don't have much left to share, don't want to bother anyone, and gradually accept loneliness as an inevitable part of old age. But loneliness is not just a feeling. It affects memory, mood, and even heart health. And the sad thing is that it comes silently. Few people realize until everything has been quiet for too long. One day, Bill's daughter asked him to go with her to a yoga class for seniors in the community center. He hesitated but then went, intending to just sit and watch. But at that moment, he saw the friendly eyes of a woman sitting next to him, heard the sound of laughter after practice, and suddenly felt his heart warm. From short chats after practice, coffee sessions with a few new friends, Bill gradually realized that connection does not need to be noisy, nor does it need to be deep relationships. Just a greeting, a laugh, a phone call is enough to remind him that he is still living among people who can share their joys and sorrows. Now he makes a morning coffee appointment every Wednesday. Every meeting is a time when he feels seen, heard, and also when he contributes to bringing positive energy to others. For Bill, finding connection not only makes him happier, but also helps his mind become clearer and his heart warmer. Social life, even though small, is still an important material to keep the elderly not only living long, but living meaningfully. Habit 4. Ignoring minor health signs. There was a time when Bill often felt a little dizzy every time he stood up suddenly. Sometimes he notices that his vision gets blurrier when reading the newspaper, or he feels a slight numbness in his toes at the end of the day. He didn't mind. He said it was a matter of age, a normal thing that everyone had to go through when they got old. Bill doesn't like going to the hospital. He was afraid of tests, wasn't used to waiting in long hallways, and was afraid that if he said something, it would be exaggerated or turned into a new list of medications to take every day. So he kept silent. Be patient with each little sign and hope that they will go away on their own. But not all signs are harmless. There are seemingly trivial things that are the first warning bell of larger problems. And the body, no matter how many years have passed, still tries to signal when something is wrong, whether we listen or not. One day when her daughter came to visit and saw Bill sitting and rubbing his feet, she asked gently. At first he just laughed it off, but eventually recounted some recent symptoms. She persuaded him to go see a doctor, and through examination, the doctor discovered that he was in the early stages of diabetes. Fortunately, because it was detected early, he only needed to change his diet and exercise gently every day to control it. Bill sat quietly as he heard the doctor say that if he had waited a few more months, the situation might have been different. For the first time in many years, he understood that not everyone goes to the hospital out of fear. There are people who go there because they respect their bodies and don't want to risk their health just because they're afraid to say something. Now, when he feels something unusual, Bill is no longer silent. He was not in a hurry to panic, but was also not subjective. He believes that listening to your body is an act of kindness to yourself. And if there is anything unsettled, he knows he has the right to ask, the right to be explained, the right to be taken care of. For Bill, recognizing and acting on small signs does not make him weak, but on the contrary, helps him feel more proactive in each day of his life. It is not only a way to prolong life, but also a way to preserve dignity and autonomy at an age when any delay can have consequences. Habit 5, trusting too much in memory, not taking notes. Bill used to be proud of his memory. In all his years of farming, he has never forgotten a crop, never mistaken the anniversary of a family's death, and never needed to write down a to-do list. There is no wall calendar or notebook in the house. There is only his mind, a place to neatly store things to remember. That habit still followed Bill until after the age of 70. Everything was fine until he forgot about the doctor's appointment his daughter had booked a week in advance. Then another morning, he was confused and couldn't remember if he had taken the medicine. At first, he thought he was just tired. Maybe he hadn't slept enough. But the repetitions made him start to worry, even if he didn't say it out loud. Bill didn't want to admit it. In his heart, having to write down everything was like a reminder that his memory was deteriorating, that old age was really knocking on the door. And that, for someone like him who used to control everything with his mind, was not easy to accept. It wasn't until he missed his blood pressure medication twice in 1 week that he decided to do what he had always avoided, took a small notebook, a pen, and started writing down things to remember every day. He also asked his nephew to show him how to set an alarm on his phone and posted a large calendar next to the dining table. The surprising thing was that instead of feeling weaker, Bill felt lighter. No more having to worry about what you did, no more worries when your memory is vague. Each line of notes is a way for him to keep pace with life. Each reminder bell is a companion, silent but devoted. For Bill, writing things down is no longer a sign of forgetfulness, but a choice of sanity. That's how he frees up his mind to make room for more important things, like remembering his newborn nephew's name, taking time to reread an old book he once loved, or simply sitting still and knowing that everything for the day is in order. He understood that memory, no matter how good, needs support, and when there are small tools to remind ourselves of what we need to do, we don't become weaker, we live more responsibly with ourselves. Habit 6. Avoid technology completely. In Bill's mind, technology is something for young people. Large screen phones, tablets, applications with hundreds of unfamiliar icons, all made him feel like he was lost in a world that did not belong to him. He often said that he had lived his whole life without needing that thing, so there was no need to change now. Bill still calls with his old flip phone, memorizes appointment schedules by memory, and when he needs to look something up, he asks his daughter or grandchild for help. Every time they suggested that he should learn how to use a smartphone or tablet, he just shook his head and smiled, both gently and decisively. But then one afternoon, while looking for a bottle of eye drops, Bill realized he was out of medicine and couldn't remember where the prescription came from. His daughter is on a business trip and the pharmacy is about to close. He felt helpless, not because there was no one to help, but because he himself didn't know what to do next. After that time, the grandson sat down next to him with the phone and said, "You don't need to learn everything. Just learn the things that will help you live easier." That statement made Bill think. He agreed to try. Learning is not easy. At first, Bill pressed the wrong button and exited the application midway, messing up the entire screen. But the nephew was not upset at all. Every time Bill got it right, he smiled and nodded patiently. Little by little, he learned to look up the weather to know whether he should wear warm clothes the next day or not. Learn how to use the online medicine ordering application, record medication time by voice, and after a few weeks, he could video call his loved ones with just a tap. What Bill didn't expect was that when he did those small things, he felt proactive again. He no longer has to wait for others. There's no need to call your daughter just to ask for a simple piece of information. And most of all, he no longer feels left behind. Technology did not turn him into a different person. It just helps him continue to be himself in a way that's more flexible and relevant to the times. Bill understands that not everyone needs to be a computer expert, but everyone can learn a little new thing if it helps them live more conveniently and comfortably. For Bill, accessing technology is not about keeping up with anyone, but about continuing to live fully in a world that is changing every day. And that, to him, is a testament to the power of learning, no matter what age. When entering the age of 70, Bill doesn't think he needs to change anything. He lived a full, kind, and resilient life. However, his attachment to familiar things made him gradually lose part of the vitality he once had. No one told him that there were habits that needed to be broken. No one gave him a handbook on aging, and like many others, he went through that stage quietly, only starting to ask questions when his body no longer responded like before, when his mind sometimes slackened and simple joys gradually disappeared. But the great thing is that Bill didn't stay in his old comfort zone forever. He started with a small action, getting up from his chair without using the armrest. Then he adjusted his meals, called old friends, took notes on what to do, listened to his body when there were unusual signs, and bravely learned how to use a smartphone. Step by step, Bill gradually found himself again. Not a younger version, but a more proactive, more confident, and more serene version of yourself at your own age. Those changes don't happen overnight. They come from observation, from patience, and above all, from the belief that life is always worth living, no matter what age. Bill's story is not his alone. That is the story of millions of people who are entering a new stage in life with silent challenges, but also full of opportunities to grow up again. Old age is not a time to step back, but an invitation to move forward slowly, with understanding and with love for yourself. What we let go does not make us worse, but creates room for better things to enter. And if there's anything left behind from this journey, it's a gentle reminder. With just one small change every day, you can rewrite the next part of your life the way you deserve.